Hello, John Dove here. Welcome to the latest episode of the Speed Mooting Podcast. And this is our first proper episode of the Partners in Crime podcast. So during the course of this episode, you're going to hear the Speed Mooting team. That is myself and Hayley. And we're going to be talking about a range of different things. So you're going to hear us talk about a recap of the National Speed Mooting competition. You will hear about details of our upcoming online play-in mitigation competition. We're going to be talking all about commercial awareness. We will be talking about staying true to yourself in the legal profession. We'll be talking all about the advocacy club. And lastly, we're going to finish off with some funny stories from court experience. So it's going to be a great episode and we hope you enjoy. Welcome to the podcast. So here we are. This is it. The first proper episode of the Partners in Crime podcast. Hayley, you're laughing before we're even starting. Well, welcome along to what is technically the second episode, but in reality, the first proper episode of the podcast. So, hopefully you guys will enjoy and welcome along for the ride.
I thought we'd get started by just recapping our last big event, which was our National Speed Mooting competition.
Absolutely. So for those who maybe are new to the podcast, you'll notice that the overall title is Speed Mooting, and that's because that's what we focus on. So our most recent competition was the 12th edition. It was the 12th annual National Speed Mooting competition. And it took place on the 16th of March at Liverpool John Moores University.
Shout out to John Moores because they were an amazing host.
Fantastic host. So we couldn't have asked for a better host, really. We were made up with how the day went. The facility was fantastic. John Moores couldn't have done enough for us. So shout out to John Moores. It was a fantastic day. We had over 120 people in the competition. Single day knockout style speed mooting competition. Those in the contest were given the moot problem the night before, so it was like being a real-life practicing barrister or solicitor with the last-minute brief. They had to prepare for both the appellant and the respondent. They had pre-prepared skeleton arguments that were provided for them, and all the case law was provided. But on the day, they rock up. From one round to the next, they don't know if they're going to be for the appellant or the respondent, and they had 7 minutes to make their submissions. So it was an interesting day, wasn't it, Hayley?
It was brilliant. And don't forget all the extra stuff we put on through the day as well.
Oh, absolutely. So we did an advocacy workshop. So once again, shout out to Matt Curtis, criminal barrister and also head of law at BPP Manchester.
It was so good, wasn't it? Usually we've done mock trials during the breaks for competitors, but this time we did an advocacy exhibition. It was incredible, wasn't it?
You know, it was an absolute masterclass that Matt put on. So he started by talking to those in the audience about what a play-in mitigation is, talked about how to effectively present a play-in mitigation, and then Matt actually delivered a 5-minute play-in mitigation on a pretty realistic scenario that you would expect to see every day in the magistrate's court.
Yeah, I was hooked because obviously I'm a commercial lawyer, so I don't know anything about play-in mitigation. So I was sat there thinking, oh, what would I say next? What would I do? It was really, really good.
Yeah, really interactive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only other thing we put on. We also had a Q&A session with 7 panellists, and this ranged from trainee solicitors through to deputy district judges and practicing barristers and solicitors as well. So a really diverse panel. And there were some fantastic questions and excellent answers as well. So I think people got some really great feedback from the panellists, and hopefully they can take that away and use that information in their applications and interviews.
Something else I thought was really funny as well was that the two finalists, so Romeo and James, both came from the same uni and both drove up together and were like really good friends.
What are the chances? What one of them actually said that the other guy put him up to enter the competition, and I bet they would never have thought after all of that they go through all of those rounds and end up in the final together. So that was really bizarre, quite funny. But yeah, no, it sounds like they had a great day, and between them walked away with an iPad and a £100 Amazon voucher. So really worthwhile day out for Romeo and James.
And we love the in-person ones as well, don't we? I mean,
they're brilliant.
We do the online ones as well, and we'll talk about them in a minute probably. But the in-person ones, you just can't replicate how much fun you have on the day. I mean, we don't stop from like 5 a.m. till
whatever time we finish.
We
Yeah.
also go to the pub afterwards. Day, the atmosphere is amazing. Getting to see everybody in person.
Yeah.
Connecting with all our judges that have came from all over the country to help us. It's amazing. I love the in-person
There's
ones.
nothing like that day. The atmosphere at the National Speed Mooting Competition, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And the feedback that we get from everyone afterwards, participants and judges, they all love the day, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's brilliant. So if you've never taken part in one before, I'd highly encourage it. You'll experience nothing like it when it comes to advocacy and mooting competition. Coming up later in the year, haven't we? And we'll share more information about that later in the year.
Yep, definitely. But why don't we talk about our next competition?
Yeah, so the next one, I mean, speaking of pleas in mitigation, our next competition is actually a plea in mitigation competition.
Yep.
So this one will be online on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can take part in this one. And it's all going to focus on the plea in mitigation.
Yep.
So just like our last competition, and just like if you were a real-life criminal lawyer, you'll get the brief the night before. And the winner will take part in up to 3 rounds on the day. So the way that the competition will be structured is there'll be round 1 in the morning. A number of people will go through from round 1 through to round 2 in the afternoon. And then a handful of people will go through to the final in the late afternoon, and we'll have a winner come 4 o'clock. So once again, just like all of our competitions, you'll go through all of your preparation through to the final within 24 hours. We're only asking for 5 minutes worth of submissions, so it'll be relatively straightforward. So even if you've never studied criminal law before, all the information will be included within the bundle. And it's just a really fun competition. And as with all of our competitions, you will be judged by practitioners. So that includes barristers, solicitors. So there are going to be fantastic judging panels on the day. Yeah. And once again, we always encourage all of our judges to give feedback. So even if it's your first time doing any advocacy, you're going to get some fantastic feedback from practitioners that you'll be able to either take through to round 2 if you make it that far, or take forward to other competitions if you don't happen to make it through to the next round. Yeah. So even if you enter the competition and you don't go that far, it'll still be a worthwhile day because you're going to get some great feedback. So yeah, so that's going to be a great day. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. So it's on the 1st of June. So that's a Saturday. Start from 9 a.m. till
4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Yeah. So if you want more information about that, speedmooting.com is our website. Click the link for the plea and mitigation competition and you can find out all of the information there and sign up if you want to take part.
Another thing that's happened over the last few weeks, which we're excited about, is we've completely revamped our newsletter, haven't we, John?
We certainly have.
It's gone out to everyone on our mailing list. I think it's gone to our university contacts as well. So if you want to get a copy of that newsletter, just join our mailing list. That's on the website, Speed Mooting.
What's the name of this company, Hayley?
speedmooting.com/contact. Join our mailing list and then you'll get a copy of our newsletter. So we're really excited about that because we've got so many more segments added to it now. So the usual stuff, all of our updates, what's happening with the companies in there. But also we've got a few little useful segments like Commercial Awareness Corner, Learning the Law, a little feature on that, and a little interview with the practitioners in there as well, isn't it?
There certainly is. The first one is a guy that you might know, some barrister from Charterhouse Chambers known as John Dove. So you'll see a short interview with myself on the first newsletter of this year. But, you know, shout out to you, Hayley. You've revamped the newsletter. It's a lot more useful features, let's say, than there had been previously.
Yeah.
So for those who are looking to go into the law, you know, there's we have a segment on sort of legal knowledge, so there'll be something different in there each and every week. And I think the Commercial Awareness Corner is going to be fantastic because that's always has been and always will be a hot topic for those that want to particularly be solicitors.
And I think just joining our mailing list in general, if you're not already, is just a great idea. That's where when we launch anything new, it's our mailing list that gets it first before anything goes public. So our competitions, they go to the mailing list first, so they'll have a couple of days before anybody else gets a chance to sign up. And sometimes, I think, was it our last online competition? All places were filled within
3 days.
3 days. So if you need to be on the mailing list if you want a good chance to be able to join our competition. So definitely check that out.
Absolutely. So, I mean, speaking of commercial awareness, as I say, it's something that firms are interested in. It's a bit of a buzzword for students and employers alike. Have you got a simple tip in relation to commercial awareness?
Yeah, sure. So first I would just say, it sounds like it's a really scary thing, but it's really not. It's as simple as being aware of things that are happening in the world in general and how they can impact your clients or your firm, your chambers, etc. So one thing that's really hot right now is just AI. So what's AI doing? AI is featuring everywhere now. So this podcast, we're going to be using tons of AI things to do this. And AI is going to cross over into the legal industry before we know it. So get ahead of that curve, learn about AI and how that can cross over into the legal world. So one example would be for real estate lawyers, a lot of their work is reviewing titles, reviewing legal documents. There's going to be, and in fact I know there already is because I've seen one, AI systems out there that at a push of a button can review a full legal title and produce a report on title within a couple of minutes. That used to be something that could take real estate lawyers hours to do. So just things like that, be aware of it so you can talk about it in interview. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, as you say, keep abreast of what's going on, look at what the latest hot topics are and try and stay on top of it. Thankfully, I don't think they've got robots doing cross-examination yet, so hopefully I should be safe for the foreseeable.
I mean, I'm a bit sceptical on AI anyway, and maybe I'm showing my age just saying this, but I don't think a computer's ever going to be intelligent enough to do what a lawyer can do.
No.
Like, just looking at that example, yeah, they might be able to just read a document and regurgitate. They're not going to know the intricacies of what that client needs or what they care about, or even, would you really trust a computer to give you a report before you go and purchase a multi-billion-pound property?
Exactly.
I wouldn't.
No, me neither.
So we'll see, but I'm
Watch
not
this
too worried
space.
just yet.
We'll review this segment in 10 years and see if we still think the same thing.
Yeah. So we do tons of social media posts all over all the main channels. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it, at Speed Mooting is on it. And one post that's been getting really, really popular, getting a lot of traction over the last couple of weeks, was a really simple one we posted just about the importance of staying true to yourself. So not diluting your accent, not trying to be somebody else. And I think we can both relate to this one, John. If you don't know, we're both Scousers. So I know back when I was shadowing a judge in my second year of university, and I was asking the judge for some general advice on pursuing a career like in crime at that time, and he said to me, the one piece of advice I'd give to you, you've got to lose that accent. And at the time I was like, oh my god, that's awful. Like, I'm never going to make it in this career. How would you change your accent? But now, how many years later, I couldn't care less, and in fact I'm really proud of my accent. So
no, you're setting yourself up to fail when you try and hide the accent, because at some point, you're going to fall short. You can't put on this sort of fake posh accent for forever. No. At some point, and if that's the way that you speak naturally, fine, not a problem, go for it. If that's your normal accent, fine. But if it isn't, if you've got a regional accent, stick with it. I do a lot of jury speeches. If I tried to put on a false accent in front of a jury, they'd see through it in no time whatsoever.
Yeah.
But because I speak with my normal accent, I think that gives me credibility when I'm speaking to juries, and that's so important. So absolutely, if you've got an accent, don't hide it. And one thing I often say, because I often do a lot of videos for YouTube about general public speaking, advocacy and things like that, when you're performing particularly advocacy in court, or if you were doing a presentation in a law firm or whatever it might be, you will naturally speak slower anyway, because when you're doing public speaking or advocacy, you need to ensure you're speaking slowly. When you speak slowly, it will change your voice slightly anyway, to the point that you are more understandable. So what I'm trying to say is, by speaking more slowly, you'll appear a lot more clear and a lot more fluid in your advocacy. So that's the only real change that you would make. But don't try and hide an accent. If you've got one, fine, run with it.
Yeah. It sets you apart from everybody else, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the point, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be individualistic. You need to have your own sort of brand.
Yeah.
So don't try and be somebody that you're not.
I did a post, and it was just a really funny, like, confused baby and the caption of it was when somebody in court quotes a case that you've never heard of. I said to you, didn't I? What'd you do?
The reality is, most times when you're doing some form of legal argument, as a general rule, there will be skeleton arguments exchanged in advance. So you'll know what your opponent's argument is, you'll know what cases they're going to cite. Sometimes there might be an argument that comes up off the hoof. So it might be, for argument's sake, that there might be, a bad character application at short notice. So a recent example with myself, an issue came up at trial, and the judge said, okay, fine, before we bring the jury in tomorrow morning, we're going to have a bad character application. The Crown served their written application, and then in the morning, just before the hearing, I received a case via email from the prosecution. And I just said to the judge, look, I've been in front of you this morning on a separate matter. Can I have 10 minutes just to read this case? And the judge said, absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. So it's very unlikely that a piece of case law will be sprung upon you last second. And even if that were the case, you would simply say to the judge, can I have a few minutes to read the case? So
I think someone commented on LinkedIn and said it can happen really common with litigants in person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's probably one example of where it does happen. I don't think judges are as bad or as scary as you expect them to be from just watching things on TV and stuff. So
yeah, it's not quite like Suits. Yeah.
They'll probably give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I bet there is, John, some really funny stories you've got of complete curveballs happening in court.
Years and years and years ago, and I was defending in the magistrate's court. It was a motoring case, and my client said to me, yeah, categorically I didn't receive this specific warning, and that was our defence for trial. Great, okay, fine. And he says to me, 100% I didn't receive this. Okay, so we run to trial. He goes in the witness box, gives it evidence as per his proof, and then in cross-examination it was suggested to him that this warning was given to him. I said, yeah, I remember that. And it's one of those when you think, hang on, we've gone over all of this, and all my closing speech was effectively just reminding the magistrates of the burden and standard of proof, because it wasn't really anywhere I could go at that point. But it's one of those when you kind of your head goes into your hand and you're thinking, we discussed this. Yeah. You can't control a witness. No. You literally can't control a witness. So it will happen when curveballs are going to be thrown at you, and there's very little you can do.
Sometimes the curveballs go in your favour, though, don't they?
Oh, certainly, yeah. So I mean, sometimes it can go the other way. Sometimes you might be defending, and a prosecution witness says something that absolutely helps your case, and you think, right, thank you very much. That's 1-0 to us.
Okay, so we've talked a fair amount about our competitions. One thing we haven't really spoke about yet, which we definitely should, is our advocacy club.
Absolutely. So for those of you that don't know, the advocacy club is a club that meets online twice a month. And each month we focus on a different form of advocacy. So, for example, at the legal club, we focus on speed mooting, different forms of criminal submissions advocacy, so like the bail application or the plea mitigation, various forms of civil submissions advocacy, trial advocacy, which includes opening and closing speeches, and of course, witness handling. And then alongside that, we have a club that focuses on public speaking and debating. So the clubs meet online on Zoom. We give all the materials to people 7 days in advance of the session. So there's no research and no drafting involved, because we know how busy you are. And then at the session, you'll come on the Zoom link. We'll separate you into groups of 4 or 5 people, depending on which session it is. And within your group, you'll perform your piece of advocacy. And what we do is we encourage peer-to-peer feedback. So within your small groups, you'll give feedback to each other. And then at the end of the session, people come back into the main Zoom room with me, and I will give feedback on that specific form of advocacy. So I'll give advice on how that piece of advocacy should be performed. So the idea of the club is it's really low pressure. In terms of our members, we have people who are complete beginners that have never done any advocacy before, through to quite experienced mooters. So it's a really broad range of experience there. And in terms of who the club is open to, the answer is everyone. So it's anyone from sort of university and GDL students through to those on the bar course and the LPC, those that have graduated, and even we have practitioners in the club. So practitioners, barristers and solicitors looking to sharpen their advocacy skills in, as I say, a low pressure environment. So the advocacy club is the place to make your mistakes, learn from them, so that when you do advocacy for real, whether it's in a mooting competition, whether it's in an interview or even in court, you've sharpened your skills and you've made your mistakes so that you're ready for the real thing. So it's a really fun environment to practice and improve your advocacy.
Yeah.
And you go to most of the sessions as well, don't you, Hayley?
I do, yeah. I'm always there in the background helping along, and I've got to say it's one of my favourite things that we do. I mean, it really can't be understated how fun and low pressure it actually is. If there was an advocacy club when I was a student, I 100% would have been a member.
Yeah.
And then maybe would have tried some mooting, some competitions. Maybe I even would have ended up at the bar. Who knows?
Who knows?
Because I was just not a natural public speaker. Didn't like being in the limelight. That's why I went down the route of solicitor. But advocacy club just isn't like that. It's so fun. And we see people coming on from really nervous speakers right until we're getting an email from them saying, I've just started pupillage and thank you so much for everything that the club did along the journey. It is incredible.
They are the nicest emails to receive, aren't they? When you see people who say, I was so nervous beforehand, I've been in the club for a couple of years, I'm now in pupillage.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
And I think it's really important as well to say, because I didn't realise how many people didn't know this, even some of our members, but we'd never make anybody participate, do we? So if people join but they just feel really nervous, or maybe they've had a horrible day at work and they think, oh god, I haven't prepped, they can still come along and they can just watch and just observe. Like, I would have done that so many times as a student, maybe a few times, and then think, okay, now I'll try. And there's absolutely no pressure. Lots of people just join and just keep the cameras off and just watch.
We have so many people that just like to observe, and some people do it for quite a few sessions before actually taking part, and that's the name of the game. Or even people who regularly take part, but as you say, for whatever reason, busy week, couldn't prepare, but I still want to come along and watch. And you learn so much just through osmosis, just through watching and taking part.
And we always have, we throw everyone off into breakout rooms, don't we, John, for the main sessions. That's where they do their advocacy. So just in small little groups, again, to take away that element of pressure. But then we bring everybody back into the main room at the end of the session. And that's usually where someone, usually John, will give some hints and tips about whatever that piece of advocacy's been. But I must say, one of the bits I love about those sessions is the little fun bits at the end. So if it's the debating session, for example, we might have a couple of quick debates, like, do crisps belong in a sandwich, which they don't.
I'll have to respectfully disagree on that one. There's nothing like the crunch of a sandwich.
Oh god, we can't get into that here. We'll take up the whole podcast. We've had people that have been with us for years and years, so we always have like little friendship going in the clubs, don't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So many people say that they network and they've built up new friends within the club. And the nice thing is, because it's all on Zoom, people who are from different parts of the country that otherwise wouldn't cross paths, they become good friends as well. So so definitely have a look at our advocacy club if you're not a member. Again, it's on our website. Have a look on the website. If you've got any questions, you can always email them in to us, info@speedmooting.com. Perfect. I think that probably brings us about to the end of our first podcast, doesn't it, Hayley?
Oh, yeah.
So it's been a pleasure. But hope you've enjoyed the podcast. These are going to be recorded and shared fairly regularly now, so keep an eye out, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.
Bye.